Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's info session for the Arizona Innovation Challenge. We'll get started in just a couple minutes. I want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to join this morning, or this afternoon, sorry. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Like I said, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for making time for today's info session for the 2022 Arizona Innovation Challenge. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Mormons. I'm the Senior Vice President of Entrepreneurship and Venture Development with the ACA, and excited to be launching this year's AIC competition. Today, I want to give a little bit about background on the competition itself, walk you through the details of the application process, and then discuss kind of what comes after the competition for our awardees in terms of the funding and the accelerator process that comes on the other end. As we go along, if you do have questions, you can feel free to throw those in the chat window or the Q&A box. I'll try and answer things along the way. It can be informal or give you a microphone to kind of ask your question. And then I'll stick around at the end for additional Q&A time as well in case anything else is on your mind. So that being said, we can jump right in. Oopsies. I want to talk about kind of our goals when we launched the Innovation Challenge. So this is the largest startup business competition in the country that's state-sponsored. We launched this over 12 years ago with a few goals in mind. We use this as a huge identification opportunity. We want to find and promote the most high potential, exciting startups in the Arizona tech and startup ecosystem. It's really about commercialization, and so we want to help accelerate your growth at the point of commercialization. And really, we want to help all of these companies prepare for that next round of institutional funding, or as we like to call it, venture ready. And so our goal is to make more Arizona startups successful, both in how they're able to attract revenue as well as funding. Like I mentioned, this is the largest state-sponsored business competition in the country. It takes place over 4 months, so it's no short process. The competition will actually be launching on August 1st, so right around the corner. And the conclusion of that will be announcing the 10 awardees right around December 1st timeline. So it's quite a long process. It takes place over 3 stages, and we'll talk about the stages in just a moment. And each of those 10 awardee companies will receive $150,000 in non-dilutive grant capital. So each cycle, $1.5 million total from the state investing in tech startups. Those grants are really with the intention of commercialization and scale. And so we're really helping companies that are in that growth mode accelerate and, like I said, prepare for that institutional funding. Some highlights of the competition itself. Every company that applies is going to get expert feedback from between 6 and 7 judges who will be evaluating your application. We ask all of those judges to leave detailed comments. You'll see quantitative scores as well as qualitative feedback, and that's a great opportunity to see how others are perceiving your business, what gaps might be, and guidance and advice for how to improve, not just for next year's competition, but also as you continue to go out to the market. Like I said, we'll select 10 awardees with $150,000 each of non-dilutive grant capital and acceptance into the Venture Ready Accelerator. Venture Ready is the state's flagship accelerator program. And what I tell founders is that, yeah, $150,000 is nice, but the real value comes in that accelerator process. It's a 9-month program. We'll talk about more at the end of this presentation, but that's where we're really adding value and helping you build and scale. And really, this is about promoting investment and risk capital and the growth of our tech ecosystem here in the state. For those of you that have been around for a while, you've seen kind of what catalytic investment can do for these founders and startups, but also for the state as a whole. So like I said, August 1st, our application window will open. It's right around the corner. And that application is open for the entire month of August. So it will close on August 31st, which is a Wednesday at 5 p.m. I know in past years' competitions, we've done sort of a timeline extension. I'm telling you right now, there will be no extensions. August 31st, we've made it as clean as possible. The month of August is the application window. Similarly, 5 p.m. is when it cuts off. If we leave it open until midnight, you're emailing me at 11 p.m. Asking for help, and I do not want to be awake that late on that day. So please get everything in by 5 p.m. on August 31st to have your application counted and scored. From there, we'll go into the evaluation window. Like I mentioned, we usually get between 65 and 70 volunteer judges. These are former entrepreneurs, executives, angel investors, mentors, coaches, SMEs, and each of those judges is evaluating between 12 and 15 applications. And I've told you that founders, we like to have 6 to 7 judges assigned to your company. And so that takes a while. That's what most of September looks like, is to make sure that we're getting really quality evaluations in. And then in early October, we'll announce 25 semifinalists who will have an additional 2-week application window to make updates to their original application and then provide some additional information, including a feedback narrative, responding to comments that they might have received from round 1, as well as uploading their pitch deck for round 2. And then from there, we'll go into another evaluation window for judging before in November, we announce the 15 finalists. Those finalists will be asked to pitch live in front of a group of judges. Those judges panel for the final round consists of institutional VCs, family offices, former successful entrepreneurs, to really select the 10 most high potential startups in the state. So we've been doing this for 12 years now, and we've seen incredible results here in the state of Arizona. We've had more than 2,500 applications in the 12 years we've been running this. We've named 120 companies to our AIC portfolio, and that's how we like to think of it, same as a venture firm. And that portfolio, they've gone on to raise an additional $1.2 billion of new capital since winning. Actually, that number needs updating because just yesterday we saw that Allbound, one of our earliest portfolio companies, raised another $43 million. We've had 18 successful exits in that time period, and our portfolio today is valued at over $2.5 billion. And so this process, this competition, the accelerator, and the companies coming out of Arizona, we've really seen massive growth, improvement, and economic impact from the course of this process. So I want to tell you a little bit about how to apply. We'll be using the Arizona Innovation Network as the hub for this. If you've participated in the AIC last year or the year prior, it's the same platform. If you've participated in the ACA's virtual accelerator, it's the same platform. And so I'll walk you through kind of the application process. On our ACA website, you'll find the whole section on the Innovation Challenge, and I'll walk you through the slides and then show you on the website itself. You'll see under the Apply section all those dates that I just told you about, and then you'll see the link for the 2022 AIC application. That will take you to a registration page where you'll fill out general registration information for your company. It'll talk about incorporation. You'll let us know kind of what industry you fall into, what your technology does, that sort of thing. And then when you submit that, you'll receive a confirmation notice on the webpage as well as a confirmation email in your inbox. This part's important because sometimes it ends up in a junk folder, but this email will have the link to your business plan as well as login information into the network itself. So if you've participated in anything on our Innovation Network in the past, please use the same email that you've used previously. Your account is still live and you'll be able to log right back in. If this is your first time using this platform, that confirmation email will send you your username and a temporary password as well as the link to log in. So here's a sample of what that confirmation email will look like. Again, if you don't see it immediately after submitting that registration form, check your junk folder. But you'll see here the next steps: log into the system, open your business plan, add in your templates, and then click submit. And then you'll see the login link there. Please log in at startupwin.com, sign in _AZ Innovation Challenge. And in this email, it says use your existing Startup Win credentials. That's for people who already have an account and use that registration information with the same email. If you don't yet have an account, that's where it would say your username is X and your temporary password is Y. And again, it will link you to where you can log in. It'll take you to this page, which is the 2022 AIC link. You'll use that email address and login to access your business plan, which was auto-generated from filling out that registration information. That'll bring you into your actual business plan in the application. You'll fill out some general information, and this is where you'll upload the application materials, which we'll go through in just a moment. So just to really drive home that point, I want to take you into what this looks like step by step. We're going to go to azcommerce.com. Oops. And if you go to our homepage, so I can show you exactly how to access it, here's our homepage, azcommerce.com. Under Startup, you will see the Arizona Innovation Challenge, apply now. Here's all the dates that we just walked through. And guess what? Here's the link to that registration page. If you click on it now, it's not yet live. Remember, we said it opens on August 1st. So this link will go live at midnight on August 1. That's where you'll fill out that registration page, and then you'll get that confirmation email logging you into the network. So here's all those dates. Here's the link for the registration page, and we'll talk about these other links on the side with more details about the Innovation Challenge in just a moment. So coming back into here, application and eligibility. We're going to walk through kind of what the requirements are, what the templates look like, and so on, and then I'll show you how to upload those to your application. So evaluation criteria, what are judges looking for as part of this process? Right here, I've listed the different categories that our rubric includes that judges will be scoring you on. These directly kind of link to different sections of the template application that you'll be filling out. And I will even show you, if you find here, let's see, eligibility. No, we're going to go into application download submissions. First round judging rubric. This is on our website. If you want to know exactly what judges are looking for, I've listed those here, but you can also see the rubric here: market validation analysis, industry attractiveness, product solution, business model, financial projections, risk versus talent, presentation quality, and funding readiness. So no surprises, very transparent for you. Eligibility. These are the areas for the types of companies that are eligible to apply, and I'll just take you through this list quickly and give a little bit of context for each. Industry, and then I'm going to link back here. Eligibility. We list our industries here. This is meant to sort of be a catch-all. Because we are the state, this competition is industry agnostic. This is more for data purposes. And so let's say, for example, you're a healthcare SaaS company and you see IT software and you also see bio life sciences and you're not sure what you fall into. You can select what you feel you most closely fall into. Don't worry about trying to check multiple. This is just so that we have data on the types of companies and industries that are applying and winning the competition. So hopefully your business falls into one of these categories. If not, you can shoot me a note either over email or in the chat window right now. Innovative ideas and solutions. This is the Arizona Innovation Challenge. And so we tell companies that there needs to be some sort of innovation within your business. Now, it doesn't always need to be a technology innovation. It can be a business model innovation, a market innovation. But really where we sort of try and distinguish the lines is imagine doing something consumer related. If you've built the next great granola bar or power bar, that might not necessarily be innovative. If you've created a really unique bug protein powder to put into protein bars, that would be innovative. So we've had consumer products. One was a consumer subscription business for mascara. That was a great example of taking a monthly subscription like Dollar Shave Club and applying it to a new market. That was innovative. And so really that's what we'll be looking for to make sure that this is kind of a unique idea. Corporate status and structure. All types of entities are allowed to apply with the exception of sole proprietorships. They are not eligible for this competition. The reason being you need to have a tax ID number, an EIN type thing. The state can't be giving out grant dollars to an individual. Now, if you are thinking that sometime in your future, you would like to pursue institutional funding, venture funding, we recommend starting the process to become a C Corp because that's what investors look for. But if you're an LLC, a C Corp, an S Corp, those are all eligible for this competition. Number of employees, we're looking for companies that have at least 2 people working 35 hours per week on this company. Now, they don't need to be necessarily full-time. They could be working on other gigs. You could have some 1099 contractors working on it if you've got a team of interns. We're really trying to avoid a single shingle founder that's doing this entire business by themselves to make sure that there are other people that believe in and are working on this initiative. So again, minimum 2 people working 35 hours a week. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of piece it together to get there. Assets. If you and your startup have more than $10 million in net assets, congratulations, that is amazing. This is probably not the competition for you. You're a little bit further along than the types of companies we're looking to support. And the value you get from the competition and the accelerator afterwards are probably beyond or earlier than where you seem to be at with 10 million in assets. Location. So you do not need to be an Arizona-based company to apply and win the AIC. You can be from anywhere in the country or around the world. And every year we have applicants from around the country. And we've even had some winners from Australia. We've had applicants from the Netherlands. If you are named an awardee, you'll have to contract with the state, and there's a clause and an expectation that you will set up and scale operations within the state of Arizona. So in some ways, this is a business attraction model. If we see startups from around the country that would like to participate here, that's great. Enter the competition, and hopefully you win and you can scale your operations here. If you are already an Arizona company, that's great. But again, not a requirement for application or to be named a winner. Commercialization timing. So like I said, the focus of these technology companies is really on acceleration, commercialization, getting ready for institutional funding. So we have a requirement where we're expecting these founders, these winning companies, to be in revenue within 12 months of being named an awardee. So if you're not in revenue today, no problem. If you're in revenue 11 months from December, from January, no problem. But if you are a pharmaceutical bioscience company that's still in R&D phase, maybe 3 years out from real revenue, this is not the time yet or the competition for that type of innovation. For companies that are, usually we'll get the question, well, does grant revenue count? We do not accept SBIR grants or other kind of research grants as revenue. But if you are a bioscience company and you've got joint venture revenue or partnerships, maybe other larger players are paying you to conduct research, that would count as revenue, just not grants. Prior awarded companies, if your company for some reason has already won the AIC, congratulations, but you can only win it once with the same company. So we aren't allowing anyone that's previously been awarded to apply. And then lastly, the ACA has discretion in kind of determining any fringe eligibility questions. And so we'll keep an eye on that. So I mentioned in the original timeline that the application window closes August 31st at 5 p.m. I will spend a few days between August 31st and September 3rd when judging starts, verifying all applications for completeness and eligibility. So again, here's that list of eligibility pieces, and that's on our website as well. So what happens if you are named an awardee? Well, 150,000 non-dilutive grant capital comes across 3 different tranches. The first tranche, I mentioned you're named a winner, you have to contract with the state. When you enter into that contract and sign off on the paperwork, you will receive your kickoff disbursement. The second chunk of funding comes through that 9-month accelerator process. We call this the performance period. And we will allocate a second kind of component of funds over the course of that 9-month process. And then that accelerator concludes with the graduation in the September-October timeframe. And upon completion of all components of the program, you'll release and unlock your final tranche of funding at graduation. So here's what that looks like in dollar amounts and the types of funding. So that kickoff distribution, that's when you sign your contract with the state. You'll get allocated $50,000 as part of that first tranche. This is discretionary spending, meaning that founders can use this money as they see fit. This is the second tranche, $75,000 in the performance period. This is the 9 months throughout the Venture Ready Accelerator. Of that $75,000, $25,000 is discretionary. You can use as you see fit, and $50,000 of that monies is prescribed, which means that there's specific kind of buckets or categories that it needs to be spent on. So without getting into too much detail, we have milestones that take place during the 9-month accelerator process. The most important ones are called panels because those are funding milestones. For each panel, founders will get $6,000 each, but $1,000 from each panel is prescribed for your assigned entrepreneur in residence who's your coach throughout the entire process. So you'll get $5,000 in discretionary funding from 5 panels, so that's $25,000. For prescribed funding, there's that additional $5,000 because I remember it's $1,000 for EIRs per panel. And then the $45,000 prescribed funding, that's broken up into 2 categories. One is for entrepreneurial support services, and one is for entrepreneurial programs. So one of those, we typically partner with 500 startups, the largest active global VC in the world. They'll put on boot camp, provide mentors, demo day practice, that sort of thing, and access to their venture capital network. And so we've got money allocated in the $150,000 for that. And then we have dollars prescribed for entrepreneurial support services, which is a really broad way of saying, what do founders need from a vendor contractor support perspective that we want to make sure that they've got funds for. So whether that's FDA consultants, IP patent paperwork, a marketing design team to update your website or collateral. It's a very flexible piece, but the idea here is it's not for OpEx. It's not for payroll. It's not for paying your rent or keeping the lights on. This is really to help work with external groups to help move your business forward. And then lastly, graduation. Like I said, this is a public showcase event. This takes place at the end of everything. And that's when we release your final tranche of funding, the $25,000. Again, that's discretionary spending to be used as you see fit. And I want to highlight and repeat, the $150,000 is great, but that's not the real prize. There's so many other highlights when you're named an awardee. We try and make introductions and connections between other investors and VCs to help with your next fundraise. We'll connect you with talent, customers, coaches, mentors. You'll get reminders and introductions for all of the other events that go on in our ecosystem. For example, Venture Madness, the Unmet Arizona Conference. Our winners and our awardees become our poster children, and we want them to succeed. And so they're sort of first at hand for companies that we know, work with, and want to recommend to others. And because we're constantly trying to educate and train the ecosystem, we'll often invite you to participate in panels, roundtables, and connect with other up-and-coming founders to make sure that that support and expertise get passed on. There's a question that just came in. My company is a biotech startup in the preclinical stage for our first product. We're in discussions with an international company to enter into a joint research venture that will primarily be supported financially by them. Would that count as revenue? Great question. Exactly what I was talking about. If you are joint venture, research funding would count as revenue. We see this frequently in the biotech space. And so if you can show an external customer, and maybe that's another pharma firm, paying you to conduct research, that would count as revenue. If they're going to structure it as a grant to go and research something, that would not. And again, the timeline for commercialization and revenue is 1 year within being named an awardee. And so if the competition goes through December, it's not that you need to have revenue by July or August of 2023. We would count it by kind of December, January of 2024 that you'd need to be in revenue. And again, just to put a point on this topic specifically, you're going to be filling out your forecast. That's part of the application process, is your financial template. We're not going to be holding your feet to the fire if in your application you thought you'd be in revenue in October and it happened in December. We're not going to come back to you a year later and say this was incorrect. We know that forecasts are just that, and really we're looking to make sure that there is a path to revenue within that time frame. And our expert judges will be looking for that as well. If you're in a bioscience firm and you haven't gone through FDA approval, and you're not going to do that for another 6 months, we know that the likelihood of getting funding, or revenue within a year is going to be difficult. So applicants, we want this process to be value add for you no matter what. So ideally you go on, you are awarded the prize, you make it all the way through. But if not, there's a lot of pieces of value that come from this. One, putting your business on paper in this application is incredibly useful. Going through the exercises and building out your business plan is going to be helpful for you to see where your gaps are. Like I said, every company will get expert feedback. We have 6 to 7 judges looking at each company. You'll get quantitative and qualitative scores from that. And then after that process, if you want help interpreting some of that feedback, looking for areas of improvement or connecting with external partners to help you grow, we'll be sending out sort of a resource guide, as well as making ourselves available to give coaching and feedback and help interpret maybe what you heard or saw from some of the responses on your application. Now, just keep in mind, the competition continues, so we might ask you to wait a couple weeks after you get your scores back while we get everything up and moving. But if that is something you'd like to take advantage of, we'll find a way to make it happen. Again, we want this to be value add for everyone who applies, not just the 10 awardees. And we tell people whether or not you think you're ready to win, this process will be helpful to you. You're on our radar. Getting your application in will show us who you are, what you're working on, what stage you're at, because the ACA has a number of programs, partners, resources that win or lose will be valuable to you, but we can't provide them if we don't know who you are. So I want to pause there before we get into questions, and I do want to get into questions in just a minute. And I want to show you a few pieces. This is the application itself. Again, if you've participated in previous innovation challenges, the application does not change. Round 1 comprised of 2 parts, the AIC application Word doc, and then also our financial template. And a few notes about each of these pieces. So we'll start with the Word document. Your first page, you'll just be adding some kind of generic registration info. Again, this is just so we know who you are, and the bulk of the application is in the 2 pages. So I want to focus here and just remind you that these 2 pages of questions and topics and buckets have to stay on 2 pages of length. During that eligibility check, I'll be going through and making sure that this doesn't spill over onto 3, 4 pages. Anything after the 2 pages is just cut off. Our judges won't even see it. Do not change the size of the text, the margins of the boxes in order to squeeze more information in. We will catch that as well. Now remember, in that 2 pages, this first generic page does not count as part of that length limit. So it's really just these topic areas. Now within the boxes themselves, you have a lot of freedom on how you can kind of use this information. You'll see all of these bullet points with different topics. You can clear out all of this if you want and just write paragraph form narratives about how your company deals with economics or risk and talent narrative. Or you can respond to every single bullet point with a sentence or 2 about that bullet point, or something, a hybrid of the 2 of those things. The space within these boxes is yours to use as you see fit. And you can also spend more time and page real estate on one topic over another. So if you want to talk a lot about your go-to-market plan, but you don't have much to say about your risk and talent narrative, that's fine. The 2-page limit is yours to use as you see fit within these different categories. Now, if you remember the rubric that I showed you, hopefully you'll recognize a lot of overlap between these topics and what our judges are looking for on their scoring template. Our financial template, again, same thing we've been using for some time. I want to just point out that we know that this template is not the perfect pro forma template for every business. Because this competition is industry agnostic, we needed to create a way to compare apples to apples across businesses from many different industries and sectors. And so if you're a bio-life sciences firm or a SaaS company, or you've got a services component to your revenue and a subscription component, it's going to be tricky to fit that in. And so we tell founders, do the best you can with this template. Our judges are trained to kind of be understanding of that. And so if there's a way that you can kind of squeeze your unique business into these forms and boxes, that just makes it easier for our judges to review so many applications. Now, if there's something that doesn't come through in this process that you feel the need to kind of clarify or explain or add to, that is where I would point you back to the written application under economics, and you can add in any details here of, in our template, it only has the SaaS component, but there's also a services model, or we'll be using resellers or distributors versus building out our own sales team. That type of nuance you can put in this section here. Now I'm going to take you into the platform itself so that you can see kind of what this looks like. And let's see, it's going to log me out, I bet. Oh, here we go. Okay, so back to group. This is from last year, so it's just a sample. This will say 2022 Arizona Innovation Challenge. When you follow that login link that we talked about, that'll come through in your email confirmation, it will bring you into this kind of cohort, but for 2022. You'll see this orange button, Update My Business Plan. You'll see your business plan box here. This is auto-generated by how you filled out that registration form. So we'll go into Update My Business Plan, and it will show you this. This is where you're going to upload those templates and materials that we just walked through. This is what judges will be reviewing and seeing, and how they will be able to review and evaluate your application. So you'll want to make sure that all 4 of these boxes or dots are filled with orange. That's how you know you're completing the application. Company stage is just a quick radio button. Market sizing and growth are some quick stats about the market that you're in. AIC application and financial documents. You can either click here, go to AIC application, and it will have another area where you can download the template that I just showed you. This is where you'll upload it. When you do upload it, that dot will fill in. And then up here on the header bar, financial documents, this is the same link as down here, financial documents, go to financials, download template, upload financial documents. More information, this will just be where your registration info lives. That carries through from that intake form that you'll have completed to gain access to all of this. So one area to just point out is that all of you have the option to provide an optional 5-minute video on your business plan as well. Our judges are trained to stop watching after 5 minutes. So if you upload something any longer, they're not going to pay attention to it. And we're told, we tell our judges that this should only be helpful. And so we want it to be additive. They're not going to be holding it against you if you don't have it. And if you do want to upload something, it can be a product commercial. It can be the founder talking about their business or customers, whatever you think might be useful in this video section, as long as it's 5 minutes or under. So those are the steps to complete your application. And I'll just give one last reminder, in this system, you can come and go as you see fit. So if you start this, I've added my market sizing, I got to go to a lunch meeting, I'll come back and log back in and add my application. That's fine. You can actually access a lot of these materials right now because it doesn't change too much. Application download and submission. Here they are. The AIC application and the financials template are already there. So if you want to start working on these pieces, we're not keeping it a surprise. It's just August 1st is when you can begin uploading that information. And then I'll pop back in here. You can make edits to this up until you hit Submit Business Plan. Once you hit Submit Business Plan, it's locked. You can't make any changes. So say you get really gung-ho, August 8th rolls around and you're done, you submit everything, and then on August 20th, you land a massive contract and your financials are very, very different. You won't be able to come and make that update. You'll have to go manually through myself and my colleague Joseph, who's on this call. Please don't do that unless it's necessary, because if we have 100 people kind of asking us to make updates, that's not going to be fun for anybody. But until you do that, you can make changes to your application. Now, the other flip side of that is we have a lot of people that fill out everything, upload everything, all of these dots are orange, their application's complete, and they say, hey, I did it, and they don't ever hit submit. And August 31st rolls around, 6 p.m. If you didn't hit submit, we didn't get your application. And so when your application is done and you feel good about it, please make sure to click the Submit Business Plan button, this magic button at the bottom. So that's my quick spiel. I'm going to pop back over here and ask the group if there are any questions. Happy to take those now. I see one that came in. Please show where the rubric is again. Okay, I'm going to take everyone back to the ACA website under Innovation Challenge, application download and submission. All prospective applicants should review the first round judging rubric, eligibility requirements, guidelines, and stages of the Arizona Innovation Challenge. So it is in a link under the application download and submission. Now, this is the final info session. If you do have additional questions, we're going to upload these slides to the website under the application workshops link. And you can also watch the recording from one of these sessions if you have a question or want to go back and watch it again. Any other questions? I will say once August 1st rolls around, I mean, I'm always super neutral, but you will find I'm much more unavailable when the competition is in session, because I don't want to give anyone information that I'm not giving to everyone. So if you do have questions, now would be the time. Question just came in, how do you select judges? That's a great question. So in my role outside of AIC, we're working with mentors, investors, coaches, SMEs. We've got a database of over 400 that we use on a voluntary basis over the course of the year. So part of my job is constantly going out and networking and building relationships with people in this world, in the community, that have had success as executives or as entrepreneurs, who are investing actively, either as angels or institutional. And who have deep domain and industry expertise. And so our judges are absolutely stellar. They're a lot of the same people who end up serving as entrepreneurs in residence, as venture coaches in our virtual accelerator, and as mentors. This is a great question from Jackie. Does the founder or CEO have to present for the pitch competition, or can other team members participate? Venture Ready is really about, I mean, the name suggests it right there, Venture Ready, getting ready for institutional funding. And so if you were to pitch in front of a VC, the VC is expecting to see the CEO pitch. And so we are the same, because we are preparing you for that process. Now, the CEO can have other teammates in the room. They can deflect a question to another executive or teammate that might have more specific expertise on a certain topic area. But everything in our process, not just the finals pitch in November, but the entire Venture Ready program for 9 months, is dedicated to training and preparing and supporting the CEO. And so if you are a CEO that thinks that you can delegate this off to a VP or some other teammate, and you're just interested in the $150,000, be prepared to be very engaged, because we are working and training the CEO. Our most successful applicants post-revenue. So this question is entirely dependent on the type of industry. And so, like I said, we see it all. We've got companies in our portfolio that are in advanced manufacturing, the new lithium-ion or solid-state battery space, bioscience and life science, pharmaceuticals, SaaS. If you are a SaaS company going up against other SaaS companies and you are pre-revenue, that's going to be more challenging. It's not impossible. It's happened before, but it's going to be tough. If you are a bioscience company that's pre-revenue, that's very common. There's more regulatory requirements. The sales process is longer. And so it depends almost entirely on what industry you're in. And more broadly, we never know who is going to apply or how many applications we're going to receive. And so we don't have hard and fast rules about what we need to see. We're looking for the 10 best companies in that applicant pool. I'm going to, so here's a question. Are the judges assigned at random or based on the industry of the company? It's sort of a little bit of both, but more randomized. And so we won't give every healthcare exec every healthcare company, because that skews it in some other ways where they might be more critical than another judge because they've got all that expertise. But it's usually helpful to have a judge or two that knows about the kind of background and science involved in a bio company, for example. So it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Who should we reach out to for specific questions after this? If you have questions about the application and the platform, there's a support email address for the innovation network itself. I believe it's support@startupwin.com, of, hey, my application got confused, blah, blah, blah. If you have questions about the process, you can reach out to myself or Joseph Bianchi, who you'll probably receive if you haven't already emails about this. If you have questions on your business or what judges might be looking for, those are just questions that we won't be able to answer during the applicant period. There's another question. We are in MBE. How do we bring this up in the application? Can you define MBE for me? And while I'm finding out what an MBE is, oh, minority business enterprise. So you can mention that in, so 2 areas. One, we're collecting demographic information in the registration form itself. While that doesn't necessarily lend itself to knowing kind of the formal certification as a minority business enterprise, we will understand some demographics. I want everyone to know the demographics piece is for data and reporting purposes only. We're not making value judgments or evaluations based on that demographic information. You can also, if you feel compelled, include that minority business enterprise status in the Word document template. And so if you can find a way narratively to feed it into your elevator pitch or your market and industry analysis, things like that, that's space and real estate that you can decide to use however you see fit. One other question that's come up in some other sessions that I want to be really clear on is requirements for in-person versus virtual. Our finals pitches will be live and in-person. So in November, right before Thanksgiving, the expectation is that the 15 finalists will have their CEO pitching in person to our judges. The milestones that happen across the Venture Ready process are in person. So we'll do an orientation kickoff in late January, early February. That's in person. We'll have a pitch panel in April, another pitch panel in June, another pitch panel in August, and your graduation in September, October. Those are all live in person with the CEO. And then the program will also have some additional boot camps and deep dives, functional deep dives. Those are virtual. So in March, we'll have a virtual boot camp. In May, we'll have a virtual deep dive. In July, another virtual deep dive. And so those can be done from anywhere, still the CEO. Okay, everyone, I will stick around for another minute if there are any additional questions that came through, but remember these slides and this info session are recorded and will be put on the application workshop webpage. And I hope to see all of you submit applications, and I wish all of you the best of luck. I'm excited to see what comes in this year. And thank you for taking time to learn more about the process. And we're here to be your cheerleaders and supporters and can't wait to be helpful. Oops, another question came in about CEO not being available to make the entire process. So again, I think I just mentioned 6 dates over the course of 9 months that they need to be in person. That is the expectation, because if you were pitching in front of a VC, even if there's other C-suite teammates, they want to evaluate and vet and train the CEO. They're the leader of the ship. And so I'm happy to give those dates again to make sure ahead of time that you can plan around it. We like to, at that January, February orientation, we select our dates and plan the entire 9-month process right there. So there's no surprises. We can make adjustments if we need to, but again, the expectation is for the CEO to be in person for those key milestones that I mentioned. The link one more time for the application forms we can fill out. So I'm not going to give the link. I will walk you through how to find it. Teach a person to fish. So let me share my screen again. Okay, the Arizona Commerce Authority website, azcommerce.com. Startup, Innovation Challenge, apply. This is the registration form, the intake page, but application download is where you'll see the templates. So again, under AIC, application download. Any other questions? Great, this is great, keep them coming. Not working, all right, let me see. We just updated those today, so let me see what's going on with the links before I. Have it working on mine. You might need to check your web browser for rules on if there's a pop-up blocker or something. I'll show you right now. When I click it, I get a download, I open it, and here's the application. If you can't find it there, or if that's not working for you, on August 1st, once you're able to get into the platform, you'll have those here as well. Download template, same thing. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, I'll go ahead and wrap up. But thank you everyone again for making time. And again, hope to see your application. Have a great day, everyone.